Welcome to Match Ed's Match of the Week, where we bring you amazing products that have captured our hearts and attention. I'm Carly, co-founder of Match Ed, and today I'm so excited to share about a program and an organization that is really reshaping how people, both young and old, redefine business and find their purpose. This is an organization that has completely captured our hearts, and as we encounter people that are really emphasizing work as worship. So in a world where our teens are completely bombarded with messages about hustling and success, faith-driven entrepreneurs for teens isn't just about launching a startup. It's about discovering God-given gifts and using business as a way to use work as worship, again, to serve others and to really make a difference. So today with us is Dana, Vice President of Faith-Driven Entrepreneur for Teens, and she's a seasoned entrepreneur herself. She's dedicated to helping teens really discover their strengths and to live intentionally, and also to start ventures that are rooted in their God-given callings. So what more could a mom or a dad want, right? So let's dive in. Dana, welcome.
Yeah, it's so great to be here. I'm so excited about what you guys are doing. So this is really fun.
Well, could you give us a glimpse into faith-driven entrepreneur for teens? Man, that is a mouthful, right?
I know. I listen, anytime you have to say the word entrepreneur over and over and over again, try spelling it. I spelled it wrong for our meeting today in my email address. So here it is all the time. No, I think you really nailed it. Like we are so passionate about young people starting to figure out who am I and what does it mean in service to the world? Right? And how do we start asking some of those questions earlier on to then see what God is seeding in their heart? And we'll talk about all the details, but that really is the heartbeat behind this course, behind the organization. And the earlier we can seed this, the better.
Absolutely. Yes. No, as a mom myself, we love, well, I'm going to go say FDE, right? This is easier.
Yeah.
This is why everyone says
Yes.
FDE.
For faith-driven entrepreneur, FDE. Yes.
Faith-driven entrepreneur. We've been involved with FDE and just loved the heartbeat behind it. So as soon as we saw that you were launching this course for teens, we signed up and now we sit down with our kids once a week and we're like, okay, we're gonna watch a course. And at first they were complaining, as all true teenagers do. And then they got really engaged and really excited about it. But what inspired FDE? You guys have been around for years now.
Yeah.
Why did you decide to kind of launch a curriculum like this for teens and the next generation?
Yeah, I mean, you know this. You're building something new right now, right? In entrepreneurship, I think it can be really a lonely space. And so what we do at Faith Driven Entrepreneur and Faith Driven Investor is we bring people together so they don't always have to do it on their own. And they can share stories with one another. And that certainly is what you and your husband have experienced, right? As you're building your company. Well,
Absolutely.
after all these foundation groups have been built over the course of years, we've heard from people like, hey, this is really great when I'm like, seasoned entrepreneur in my 60s or my 50s or my 40s. But where were these seeds when I was a teen and when I was in my 20s and when I was in my 30s? Because there's so many ideas in the content that we share that can really transform the way somebody builds something, and not just the way that we invest our money, the way that we give our money. And I love that you talked about work as worship, because the entrepreneurial mindset doesn't necessarily mean always building a business and starting to create a business. And so when we think about it through the lens of teens in our teen initiative at Faith Driven, it is that former of entrepreneurial mindset, so they can start to see, what does work as worship look like for me, whether it's starting a business or not.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. And I love that you keep using the word, what was the word you said that I thought was, seed, planting a seed, right?
Yes.
And who knows when it's going to grow, but you continue to plant that. That's such a beautiful picture for what you guys are doing and how you're encouraging that behavior.
Well, we know that stories are so powerful, and especially with our young people, they're constantly bombarded with content and stories. And so we want to grab that. We want to be able to share stories, whether it's Dude Perfect talking about the faith foundation of their story and what that looks like as they build out their YouTube channel into becoming a brand, family-friendly brand that parents can trust, right? It's a big story rooted in faith. And that's something that can grab the attention of young people because it's what they're used to. And so we're trying to kind of bridge that gap of how do we tell these stories that are really impactful, they're really interesting, teens love them, but it's also planting seeds that they will come back to at some point like, man, I remember when that concept was introduced to me when I watched that video in 2025, you know? And that's what we've been seeing, which has been really fun.
Well, when you say stories are powerful, that's exactly it, right? They can
Yeah,
bring those back in.
right.
And so you have a really cool story you've shared with me, but what's your why? I mean, you have a very entrepreneurial background, but why do
Yeah.
you get up every day? Why did you take this position? Why do you pour into FDE Teens?
Yeah. So I was not introduced to entrepreneurship when I was younger. I had, my mom was in a school system, she was a principal, my dad was in construction. It was not part of my life. And I think when I realized what was possible and that there are people that create things, like it just captured my attention at a young age when I was in my, I would say, early 20s. And I was just really, really curious. And I had followed all of these different organizations that were doing things in the entrepreneurship space. And the level of fast growth that I had because of that curiosity is something that I will continue to seed in my kids, in teens, like forever, because there's something to follow. Just ask further questions that you can learn from. So yes, my husband and I we started a school here in West Michigan. We also have a children's business fair, which is entrepreneurship, like doing it. So it's a 2-hour open market fair where they sell product and you just see what you're capable of, right? I think it's a small, cheap experiment sometimes to try out entrepreneurship. So it really has been weaved in our life for many, many years. And so to be able to lead this initiative at Faith Driven is just like a full circle moment for us in the past few
Yes.
months. And it's been really fun because I think as the world shifts, as work shifts, as it changes, and we have young people going out into the world, I care so deeply that they're going to be able to connect the dots and that they're going to be able to take that initiative. And I really believe that that's what we're teaching. And I think that those are skills that are going to be, they're so needed even today and will be even more so as we progress into the future.
I could not agree with you more. That's what we're facing. That's where we're
Yeah.
headed. By the way, Dana's in Michigan, so if you want
I'm in
your children to
Michigan.
participate in the
Yeah.
Children's Entrepreneurship Business Fair, look her up. It's such a cool thing. So as teens and tweens, our culture is just really teaching them to chase quick wins and
Yeah.
become an influencer and become famous, and you'll be instantly rich and successful and as
Yeah.
a teen mom, I'm constantly saying, it doesn't really work that way
Right.
usually. But
Yeah.
so why do you believe it matters for teens to root their businesses in faith, integrity, a kingdom mindset? How does that change
Yeah.
things?
I think when you're connected to who God's made you to be, and it doesn't matter what you end up doing, like when you can utilize those skills and gifts that He's given you, there is so much joy and fulfillment in your work. And I think we're always going to run into challenges. We're always going to run into dead ends, and it's going to be really hard, but we're more easily able to overcome when we're working alongside Him, right? And then when it's rooted in faith. Um, yeah, there is no, sure, do viral spikes happen? And all of a sudden somebody has this instant thing. Yeah, sure, it does. Is that likely? No, it's not likely. I mean, you want to talk about somebody like, I mean, Dude Perfect, we just talked about them. Like, this has been a burn over time. And by the way,
Mhm.
they will say we hit the market right at the right time because when we started creating content, it was cat videos and that was it. And then it was our trick shots. That is not what it's like in 2025. So it's just not comparing apples to apples. So when you look at somebody's, 10, 12 years into their journey and say, well, I'm going to get there in a they're not going to. So the more that we can give young people perspective around the struggle, the challenge, the perseverance and grit that it takes to create something or to adjust. Like your first job is probably not going to be your favorite job.
Right.
Probably not. But could we go into it with Lord, what do you have for me to learn? Right? Like, what do I need to learn in this situation? And how can I grow through this, even if I don't love it? what do you have for me? I think that's just a totally different posture that they can grow and learn tremendous amounts.
Absolutely. Yes. I love the idea of continuing to come back to that seed and that grit, right?
Yeah.
How do you determine, like, grab onto that grit and grow it? So, do you have any favorite, as you guys are filming all this content, or you've discovered teens that are diving in? Do you have any favorite stories of what entrepreneurship can look like for teens and how they step out in faith?
Yeah, so a lot of the things that we're seeing, which I love, because the curriculum that we have is not like a how to go build a business, right? What we are doing is we are sharing ideas and them learning about themselves through entrepreneurial stories and investor stories. So it's things like an aha moment with a 16-year-old that says, I don't actually have to be great at everything. Right. Like that is correct. You need to be really good and able to do the things that God's made you to do really well. But then there's other people. I mean, it shows them how do we work with others around us, right? Like how does
Mhm.
somebody's strengths complement my strengths? And how do I complement somebody's weakness with my strength? So it's some of those things that are maybe harder to measure, but a really impactful and powerful ahas that stand
Yes.
out to me in these stories from the young people that are going through it. Or, I recognize that I really care deeply about the challenge of homelessness. I mean, we have an activity that they go through where you decide, like, what are these causes that you care about? Well, they maybe have
Mhm.
never said that out loud before, right? And they're just recognizing it for the first time, like, oh, I really do care deeply about that. And maybe at some point in my life, I could do something about that. I think
Yeah.
it's those types of outcomes that have been really powerful for me to see and walk alongside them with.
It's so neat. And have that revelation at
Yeah,
such a young age, now then
right,
how do you go out and live your purpose in such a different way for the next decades versus what
right,
you said, so many people saying, I didn't realize that till I was 50 or till I was 60. How does that
right,
change all those decades in between, which is really
right,
neat.
right.
Yeah.
Yep.
So you had mentioned this isn't just about launching a business. Faith-driven entrepreneurs for teens is not just launching in a how-to, but
Hmm.
how do you help those teens move from like just chasing profits to creating lasting impact?
Yeah. So the stories that we tell are not profit chasing companies. And so it's interesting. Now, I'm not saying the profits are bad. Like profits are great because man, you can do so much with a really profitable business, right? And the Lord can utilize all of that money to like seed more and more and more in the kingdom. So we are all for that. But there are a lot of stories that we tell that's like, I had to think about this completely differently. Like we have one of the first stories that we tell of a company that he sold the tech company really young. Like he was very, very young. And then God was like, "Yeah, I want you to go overseas and just like leave that life." And so he did. And then he built another company that's incredibly missional that wants to just create jobs for people. We've got another company of that what they do is create products that then are created by prisoners. So giving really good work to those that are in the prison
Mhm.
system so they can actually make a decent wage and it can help them to get off their feet. Like those are missional companies. So I think it's just thinking about it a little bit differently of like, what are all the uses and ways that we can use business for God's kingdom, right?
Absolutely.
Our investments, same thing. Like these are the types of ideas that we want to think about differently versus just, hey, I made X amount of profit on that sale. So I think the stories do a really good job at uncovering
Yes.
that without us saying like, here's the concept, memorize the concept, right? It just goes a
Yes.
lot further.
Yes. So how do you think that entrepreneurship teaches teens the grit that you referenced before and the faith that they need for life? Besides being able just to come back to these stories, what else
Yeah.
do you think that it really instills in them?
Yeah. Well, whenever you go out and step out and do something that scares you, you will grow. Right?
Oh,
You
good.
if you fall on your face, you will grow. If you get rejected, you will grow. And so the stories do that, they show that, but then we also are encouraging young people to like go and do, right? Because you're going to learn. And so I don't think we have to be afraid of going and doing because that's where we're going to learn. So the more that we can encourage them to like go out and try things, like I think of our children's business fair, sometimes over the course of 2 hours, they do really well and they make good money. Sometimes they don't at all because their product doesn't hit at all. That's really hard, right? It's hard. No one wanted what you made, or very few people wanted
Mhm.
what you made. It was your grandma, your grandpa, your mom, and your dad. But what did you learn? You learned that maybe your product didn't have a product market fit, and so you should try something else next time. But it's that learning by doing and going out into the world. I think the stories help us to give them a little bit more courage to go and do it, because when you see that someone else has done it, you can then go and do it. It gives you that, it
Absolutely.
increases that courage meter
Yeah,
within you. But definitely encouraging them to go and do and then reflect and then go and do some more and reflect some more.
I love it. I love it. Now, if someone is going to sign up for the course, what does it look like? What are they expecting? So they're going to
Yeah.
sign up, and then how do they implement it? Do the teens do it themselves? Do the parents do it with them? I
Yeah.
know how we've done it. We've
Yeah.
everyone sit down and it's family, family
Yeah,
evening, and we go through
which
it.
I
But
love because you can learn too, right? Like family learning is my very favorite learning. But no, you can actually have them do it on their own. So it's a digital course. There's 12 different episodes, so 12 different lessons, about 12 hours worth of content. So there's a video in kind of introduction story that's, 15 to 20 minutes. Then we have another 3 to 5 of just like, what did we see? What does this mean to us? And how do we work through this? And then there's a workbook with each one of the episodes as well. So it's then diving down even deeper of what does this mean to me? What is my reflection of what I've just worked through? And so it can be done in a group setting. It can also be done individually. It's really flexible because it's a digital course. But that's what you can expect for kind of the amount of time. And I do encourage parents. There's really great conversational pieces. So even
mhm,
if they do it on their own, man, to be able to see their workbook or to talk through their reflections, of course, with permission and in a conversational way, there's a lot of powerful points that come out from the content that they're working through.
that's awesome. What age range would you say is appropriate?
Yeah, so we usually, the target demographic is like a sophomore in high school. The reason we say that is because it's kind of before they start making the big decisions, right? Because we know
Mhm.
junior year, senior year is where
Right.
we're really moving into like, what do I have to do? What are my big decisions for the future? Because we do believe that this course can inform a lot of that. Because again, if you're learning who you are in the Lord, what does that look like? It's giving you the why behind the decisions that you're making in the future. Now, I have a 12 and 10-year-olds. We have also gone through the curriculum together. The challenges for my younger ones, in general, younger ones, is a lot of the self-reflection is just harder, right? They're not quite there yet where they can go through a whole lot of self-reflection. They can do
Mhm.
some, but maybe not as much as a, 15, 16-year-old.
Absolutely.
But we have
Yes.
college students. I mean, we do have college students that have gone through it too. So it's not going to turn them off if they're older. It's just was really created for kind of that early high school.
I know personally that my husband and I have gotten involved in faith-driven entrepreneurs. So as parents are listening to this, it's not just applicable to teens. There really is this amazing network of people,
Yeah.
both investors and entrepreneurs, that are coming together to really to find their purpose and to find community surrounding it, which for us has been completely life-changing. Because as
Mm.
you had mentioned, entrepreneurship can be lonely. It
Yeah.
can be hard. I went and fed some goats the other day with my nieces. And I realized that being a founder or an entrepreneur, I think, is a lot like being a goat. You have to just like be stubborn. You have to try anything, including
Yep.
like a rope or a piece of, bark. And you have to kind of bull your way through a lot of things, and you have to
Yep.
be resilient. So
Yep.
we've
For
learned
sure.
that, and having that community around you, that when you do, like you said, when you fall and you learn, they kind of all say, "Oh, we've done that too."
Yep.
That's so huge. And so forming this for these teens around the same concept to me is so exciting. So
Yeah.
if you
Yeah.
could say one thing to a parent who's maybe saying, I'm not sure if my teen's ready, or I don't think I can really help them. I'm not an entrepreneur. This
Yeah.
isn't something I've ever done. What would you say to a parent like that?
They don't have to be. So I think my favorite thing to share with, we talked about curiosity earlier, same thing for the parent. Like if you're curious about your kid and you're able to look at them and really see them and help to pull out these gifts, that's what we're trying to do in the course. And you can also walk alongside them and just ask some of these questions. You don't have to be the expert, right? They will have ideas. They do. They have ideas, they have thoughts, they have things that they're excited about, they have things that they're curious about. So if we can just walk alongside them and try, maybe it's the car conversations, right? Or it's going for a walk. Like it's those moments that we try to have really intentional time with them. I just encourage parents to do that. The content in the course is really great and it's going to open up conversations if you watch it together or if you watch it separately. So I would encourage them to do it. They do not have to be an entrepreneur. They do not have to be an expert in all things entrepreneurship, investing, any of it. We definitely tee up all of those conversations.
But you take all the hard work, which is perfect. And then it leads to those intentional car moments, which we
Yeah.
love. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
This
thanks,
is the
Dana.
best.
Thanks for all
Yeah.
you and the whole team over you have such an amazing team over at Faith Driven Entrepreneur. Everybody go over to matchedcommunity.com and check out this match of the week. And remember, like I always say, what you are doing matters. And Dana just echoed this. Every choice is building something really lasting. And you don't have to do it perfectly, you just have to do it purposefully. So let's journey together.